going to talk a little bit about pruning spring blooming shrubs. So as you can see right here, I have my mock orange that is just finishing blooming, and right above that I have my sensation lilac. We're also going to look at pruning my reblooming lilac. Now, pruning spring blooming shrubs is very time sensitive, and we're a little late. So we are in the middle of July, and I should have pruned the lilacs a couple of weeks ago. We probably will lose a few blooms, but it's going to be okay. We're not going to prune the entire thing. We're just going to get some of the taller branches out. The mock oranges are just finishing up their bloom, so they will be fine. If you have forsythia, you could prune them mid-June, and they should be fine there. The reason we prune them after they've finished blooming is because the new blooms are starting to develop immediately after the old blooms fade. So if you cut them back later in the year or early in the spring, you're actually cutting off all the new flower buds. So let's look at what I have for tools, and then we'll talk a little bit about pruning. Okay, so we have a few of the tools here that I'm going to use. First one is my saw for the larger branches. I love silky saws. They're really sharp, they do a great job, and they last a long time. I have my Corona, my old Corona pruners, hand pruners. Those are for the smaller branches. And then I have my larger Corona loppers. So we're going to use these tools. Plus, let me see if I can pull this up here. I'm going to use my Echo hedger for the reblooming lilac. I love this hedger. Let me show you a little bit about. Let me show you the blade on this. It has blades on both sides. You'll see a lot of edgers that have blades only on one side. Those are a lot more difficult for me to use anyway, but I really like the ones with blades on both sides. So let's get pruning. So I'm going to show you a little closer. This is the base of my mock orange. Okay, we've got the base of my lilac down here. See, it's got some really large branches on it. And one of those branches extends way up, if you can see that. We're going to take that branch off. So to explain a little bit more about how to prune, I'll explain it and then I'll go ahead and start pruning. There are several different ways to do it. If you want to do a renewal pruning, you can cut shrubs like this by half. If you want to prune it so that it grows better, not the renewal pruning, where, for example, my mock orange is a little bit out of control and it's kind of scrubby. I want a bunch of new growth, so I'm going to cut that back by half. If it was in pretty good shape and I just wanted to encourage new growth, I would go to the base, take out 2 or 3 of the largest, oldest branches and take them out to the ground. Other branches, for example, let's say I didn't like this branch out here all the way, what I could do is I could go back, well, let's say I just wanted to take off this lower half. Instead of just coming in and cutting the branch in the middle, you find where the branch that you don't want connects to another branch. So I would cut this right here at a slight angle, not too much of an angle because that weakens the branch, not flat, because if you leave a stub, you're going to start getting decay. But if you cut it right at a little angle right there, let me grab my pruners and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, let me show you what I was talking about. If I wanted to reduce this branch, the length on it, and I liked the placement of this branch, I would take this, let me see if I can get, and prune it right there. So as you can see, there's no stub, and it's not too much of an angle. So you always, when you prune, take it back to where it connects to another branch or to a trunk. If you wanted more new growth, what you would do is you would come in and you would cut that branch right in the middle. like that. When you cut it right in the middle, it forces all they're called latent buds, they're buds that you cannot see. It forces those to come out along this branch. Example, privets. You can hedge privets, and hedging privets is just basically doing a bunch of those little tiny cuts. It forces a bunch of growth along the stem. For shrubs that you want thick and dense, that works beautifully. For bushes like this, when you want to do renewal pruning, you can do that. But if you want it to have a arching form, a natural form, pruning it like that is just going to cause it to thicken up in an undesirable way. So for the lilac, we're going to cut out that largest, oldest branch all the way to the base. What that's going to do is possibly force this lilac into some new growth. So I'm going to start with the mock orange, and we're going to take that down by half. I think I'm going to use my large loppers because the branches are a little bit bigger. So as you can see, I have finished pruning down this mock orange. It's pretty drastic, but that's going to force a lot of new up from the base. Maybe we'll get some flowers next year, maybe we won't, but it'll be a better looking shrub. Let's start on the lilac in the back. I might only take out one branch. I might prune some of the height back on this one a little bit too. So we look at this area, we see branches that are connecting all the way to the ground, and these branches are extending, actually lying on the ground cover, kind of looking a little too low and thick for my taste. Maybe you would like it. Everybody gets to decide what they want. It's not hurting the shrub to look like this, but I don't like it, so I'm going to cut some things off. Take off a few branches and see how it looks. I like to cut off branches and then step back for a bit and look at the shrub and see if I need to do any more. Now I think I've gotten the look that I want for this lilac. You can still see through it, but it's not hanging down onto the ground cover below as much. Here we are in front of my bloomerang lilac. As you can see, it's done blooming. It's got several seed pods on it. I'll show you those seed pods up closer a little bit. If I had pruned this back right after it had bloomed, it would have had a much nicer rebloom. I'm not seeing any buds on it right now, so I'm assuming that it's just not going to rebloom for us this year. So let me take you a little bit closer and show you what the seed pods look like. I am going to be using my hedger like I showed you earlier. So these are the seed pods that I'm going to be cutting off. Allowing lilacs to go to seed doesn't hurt them, but it also doesn't help with rebloom if you have the reblooming lilacs. So what I'm going to do is just take this furry little monster back, make it look a little bit better, take off the majority of the seed pods, and we'll see what it looks like after I'm done. Now that went really quickly. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it has a little bit better of a shape. Back here again in my backyard with the majority of the mess that I made. Let's see if we can show you the other part. So what do I do with all this mess? I'm going to throw mine on my trailer and take it to our city green waste. Another way to do it, when I lived in California, my ex-husband, bless his little heart, he used to give me tools for anniversaries, Christmas, birthdays, stuff like that. One of my favorite tools that he gave me was a chipper shredder. It was a large chipper shredder. It took all my energy to haul it across the yard, but I used that thing constantly. What I would do is I would take branches like the ones that you see in the back there, throw it through the chipper shredder, put it in my compost pile. I had an open air compost pile. I didn't build anything special for it. I just threw everything on the ground. But every bit of my garden waste went through that chipper shredder and into the compost pile. Sadly, I don't have one right now. So the options for big waste like this is either for me, it's the dump. So anyway, if you have any questions about pruning spring shrubs, let me know, and enjoy yourself and go have a good garden adventure.